Hello, we're going to go through session 4. Characters' perspectives are shaped by their roles. I just wanted to welcome you again to another day of fun and excitement with reading. This is actually probably my favorite lesson. Characters play a certain role depending on some of the outcomes or situations that they face. Getting to know your characters in your book can be very interesting. And we have to remember that there are different things during different time periods that we're reading about. And if we use our imagination, we can pay attention to the characters and understand them based on their time period and what they were experiencing in that time period. Our goal today is to learn that characters are influenced by the time period they are living in and by what is going on around them. When we revisit a scene in Number of the Stars, there was a scene where Anne Marie was told halt by the German guards, and that means stop. So because of what she was experiencing at the time, this was fearful for her. She was experiencing something that she was not familiar with. Now, if you were like just crossing a street and your crossing guard is helping you and he tells you to stop, you wouldn't be afraid at all. And she wouldn't be afraid. So, what you need to understand is surroundings and events that are happening in your life shape what you think. And hers was fearful thinking. It was something she was not familiar with, and someone was telling her to stop. Okay, I'm going to read a scene for you, and I want you to think about it in the character's perspective. What's going on around it, and I want you to think of how is Kirsty's response different from Rosen's and why. I must go and speak to Ellen, Mrs. Rosen said, moving toward the door. You girls walk a different way to school tomorrow, promise me? Anne Marie and Ellen will promise too. We will, Mrs. Rosen, but what does it matter? There are German soldiers on every corner. They will remember your faces, Mrs. Rosen said, turning in the doorway to the hall. It is important to be one of the crowd always. Be one of many. Be sure that they never have reason to remember your face. She disappeared into the hall and closed the door behind her. He'll remember my face, Mama, Kirsty announced happily, because he said I looked like his little girl. He said I was pretty. If he has such a pretty little girl, why doesn't he go back to her like a good father? Mrs. Johansson murmured, stroking Kirsty's cheek. Why doesn't he go back to his own country? So here we have a little girl, Kirsty, who notices that the German soldier recognized her, and her age, her response was appropriate. She's like, oh, he thinks I'm pretty. That's her perspective of the German soldier. Now, Mrs. Rosen's perspective is she is aware of what that meaning is, why those soldiers are there. She understands the danger that it means. So her perspective is totally different than her daughter's. And the anchor chart that we are going to talk about, it actually talks about, and I'm just going to list them here. The bullet points that we've been focusing on for readers of historical fiction. Remember to read analytically. That was our first lesson. Studying parts that clue them into the facts, feelings, or setting. Collect and organize key facts. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Figure out the main character's timeline and historical timeline. And this point is realize that character's perspective is shaped by times and by his or her roles that they play. So today, when characters act differently in your books than expected, ask yourself why. Use what you learned today to look at your characters in your book with a new perspective. And your writing activity for your book club will also be asking you to describe the perspective your character has and what may be playing a role in it. If you have any questions, just reach out. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.